Hey, millionaire. We all dream of finding a fortune in a secret place. Maybe you've imagined opening a box in a new house or being sent a mysterious package full of gold. But that kind of thing only happens in movies, right? Well, sometimes truth is stranger than fiction. The people in these stories really did find loads of cash hidden in surprising places. But where did they find it? And more importantly, what did they do with it? Here are two stories about people who accidentally made some very lucky purchases. Here are two genuinely true stories of people who found loads of cash in the most unexpected place. Let's find out what went down. You know what it's like when you move into your first apartment. It's always a tiny space, and unless you have rich parents, you don't have all the money you'd like to furnish it. That's exactly what happened to these three college friends. They moved into a new apartment together and immediately realized they had a problem that needed to be fixed. They just couldn't find a sofa that was small enough to fit into their tiny living room, but big enough for all of them to chill out on. Plus, they only had a very tight budget to work with. That's student life. Soon they were all hopping around the city's charities shops hoping they might find their perfect sofa, but they never did. Instead, they eventually found a super old, smelly sofa bed that nobody wanted in their house. But it was the only one they could find that was affordable and could fit perfectly into the space. They didn't like the sofa much, but they were happy to have somewhere to sit down, so they looked on the bright side and bought the old sofa bed for $20. But when they got it home, they realized it was even worse than they thought. Not only was it clearly super old and also pretty smelly, but it wasn't even comfortable to sit on. The one side had a lumpy spot that was horrible to sit on. They said they'd take turns to sit on the lumpy side, but it never worked out that way. In the end, it was Reese who almost always had to sit on the uncomfortable bit. It took a while, but finally, Reese got curious. He had been sitting on a lumpy sofa for 2 months and he wanted to know why it was so uncomfortable. So, he stuck his hand down the side of the cushions. As soon as his hand got below the surface, he screamed. His housemates jumped and screamed too, but their friend's hand was fine. Reese only got a little pinch when he'd put his hand between the cushions. Everyone went back to watching their movie, but Reese was still wondering what he'd felt beneath the sofa cushions. Logically, it should have been something like springs that he'd touched, but he thought it felt more like something was stuck underneath the upholstery. He couldn't stop thinking about it. He knew something wasn't right. The next day, he asked his roommates what they thought. One by one, each of the housemates took a turn to stick their hands down between the cushions. And sure enough, they agreed Reese was right. There was definitely something stuck underneath the fabric that definitely wasn't meant to be part of the sofa. They agreed that they'd see what they could find by folding the sofa out into its sleeper form. They thought maybe something had gotten wedged inside the sofa the last time it was folded up. But when they'd finally assembled the sofa into its sleeper bed position, they only had more questions. The lump was definitely not a mistake. Whatever it was had been carefully placed under the seams. Reese wasn't going to let this sofa stop him from finding out what that lump was. So he grabbed a kitchen knife and ripped open the fabric. His roommates pulled away the upholstery and a bubble-wrapped package fell to the floor. They opened it up carefully. Inside was an old envelope, and inside that was a whole wad of real $100 bills. They couldn't believe what they'd found. They carefully checked the sofa for more, and they started counting their new fortune. And no, that's not an exaggeration. This wasn't a lost couple of dollars. This was a carefully hidden $40,000 in cash. Have you ever found cash in a weird place? Do you know someone who has? Tell us exactly what happened in the comments. And keep watching to find out what happened to the mysterious $40,000 that these friends found in their sofa. Let's face it, if you found that kind of money in a dusty old sofa, you'd wonder what kind of mystery was behind it. Of course, with that kind of money, the young trio could pay off their student loans and even travel the world. Reese was even dreaming of buying his mom a new car. But in the very last envelope, they found a clue to the mystery of the hidden money. It was a simple note that said nothing except a woman's name. So the friends sat down and talked about it. Together, they all decided that they had to try to find the rightful owner of all that cash. They weren't thieves, and if they had a way of tracking down the person who earned the money, they felt it was important to at least try to return the cash they'd found. They were smart, and it didn't take them long to find a phone number that matched the name on the note. They called and a woman answered. When Reese told her he'd bought a sofa he thought might belong to her, the woman immediately told him she'd hidden a lot of cash in that old piece of furniture. They'd found the right person. They immediately jumped into a car to deliver the money to its owner. When they arrived, an old lady answered the door. She told them how the money had ended up in their hands. She'd been storing her and her husband's savings in that sofa for a whopping 30 years. When he sadly passed away, the old lady had gone to the hospital for back surgery. She'd been sleeping on that uncomfortable sofa bed for years. While she was in hospital, her daughter had gone to her house to secretly replace the smelly old sofa bed with a nice new bed as a surprise. It was supposed to be a good thing she was doing for her mom, but she had no idea all her mom's money was hidden inside that sofa. It was really lucky that the three honest friends bought that sofa before someone else, or the old lady probably would never have seen her money again. The three housemates were just glad they could do a good deed. It's pretty rare to find large amounts of cash like that, but clearly it can still happen. Make a wish and you'll find a ton of cash in an unexpected place. If you hit subscribe in the next 5 seconds, it might come true. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fingers crossed you get lucky. But those three friends aren't the only people who have found cash hidden inside furniture. Over in Connecticut, another man had a similar experience. Noah was a practicing rabbi who needed a desk for his study. He was lucky to find a pretty nice one on Craigslist for just $150, and he snapped it up immediately. He was super happy with his purchase until he got it home. He immediately realized that his new desk couldn't fit through the door to his study. But Noah was no quitter. He decided he'd just take the desk apart to get it through the door and then put it back together again once it was in the room. But something unexpected happened. As he was dismantling the desk, a package dropped out. Noah was curious and opened it up, only to discover that the package contained $98,000. That's a life-changing amount of money for most people. But Noah was not most people. Instead of booking a holiday, he went back to the woman he'd bought the desk from to give her the bag full of money. She couldn't believe he'd brought the money back. She explained to Noah that she'd been given the money as part of her inheritance. Unfortunately, she'd somehow lost it and she had no idea it was in the desk she'd sold to Noah. If he'd just kept the money for himself, she would never have known. But Noah didn't care. He wouldn't even accept a reward for his good deed. The woman insisted on returning the $150 Noah had paid for the desk, though. I guess these stories go to show that there really are still good people in this world.